Let's move on to Saturday, December 24th, Christmas Eve action. And we start with the Buffalo Bills, 11-3, 5-2 on the road at Chicago Bears, 3-11, 2-5 at home. We're at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. And get ready for the cold. It is going to be so cold. They talked about how cold it was, or at least Jalen Hurts was talking about how cold it was when it was 22 Fahrenheit. Now it's going to be 9 Fahrenheit, and the wind's 21 miles per hour, and this total has completely dropped to the floor. Let's take a look at the line history, and then we'll go into the cash flow here. But line history for this one, we have the Bills opening up as 8.5-point favorites. That's where they are now. There's been a 3-cent move towards them. From a total side of things, it opened up at 43 and has dropped to 40. I guess we can't talk about the floor being dropped until we talk about the Browns game. So maybe I was a little overly dramatic on this one.
No, but it's kind of a theme this week. A lot of cold games, a lot of low totals.
Mhm.
There's no totals even coming close to 50, and there's quite a few that are, 42 or lower. It's turned into 1986 again here with some of these totals, and yeah, it's cold as balls here. So I mean, I understand what it's like. Hurts. I don't know if anybody who played football, even in high school, getting hit hurts because that's what it's supposed to. But getting hit when it's cold hurts different, man. It hurts so much different. So this is I'm just spoiler alert. I'm with Sky Dragon here. I don't think these teams are going to be affected by the cold. Like this total has gone a bit too far for a Bills game for me. Exactly. And Sky Dragon hits on the only point I was ever going to make is the Chicago defense is just horrid. I mean, the current rostering of this defense right now is bottom 5, and the Bills have an elite offense that can get it done a multitude of ways. They have everything to play for still. They want to lock up that 1 seed. This could get ugly. Like I feel like what we expected from the Eagles, you might get from the Bills here.
52% of the tickets and 66% of the cash is on the Chicago Bears. Only 6,000 tickets in. That's enough to give me some pause. 60% of the tickets and 87% of cash is on the under. I find it very interesting, that you guys are interested in the under. Certainly that came to fruition in Buffalo this past week. Bills come in off their 5th straight win, a wild 32-29 home victory over the Dolphins. Allen was 25-40 for 304 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also ran 10 times for 77 yards, did lose a fumble. He's now tied Dan Marino for the most TD passes through the first 5 seasons of a career at 171. Dawson Knox caught 4 passes for 98 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs caught 5 for 60. Devin Singletary ran 13 times for 42 yards and caught 3 passes for 28 yards. They went for 446 total yards, 8 for 14 on third down, 4 or 5 in the red zone. But defensively, they got gashed on the ground for 188 yards on 25 carries by a pedestrian Dolphins running game. They did hold the Dolphins to 5 of 14 on third down. They were unable to get enough pressure on Tua. 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and then Mitch Morse is in concussion protocol. So he left in the second half. He is their center. What did the defense not getting pressure in this game, because they handled the first game without Von Miller, with aplomb. They got Rousseau back. They got AJ Epinesa. And I was like, I love those guys. I love seeing them line. Did their defense concern you against the Dolphins, Andy, the way they got gashed on the ground and the way they couldn't get pressure on Tua?
A little bit, and I think that's another reason I like this over. Montgomery looks good. You have one of the most, just dynamic quarterbacks. I know Lamar and Jalen Hurts exist, but Fields is getting right up there with those guys. Like as far as when he decides to take off, that's been a lot of fun. I don't know, like this is kind of a fun team with a horrible defense, which I wish they played in a dome. These totals for Bears games would be 50 because, man, they're not stopping anything right now. Didn't even feel like the Eagles really put together a strong effort, and, they had 25. So I like this. I like this Bills team to, if they can't get a pass rush, you're not pressuring this quarterback and you're going to let him run like Miami ran, yeah, the Bears are going to get theirs. I got too cute with it last week. Maybe I'm doing this again, but I like the Bears +9 as well, even against one of my favorite teams. And my God, I need Josh Allen to win MVP, baby. Like I was able to get some Mahomes at a plus number before the Hurts news went wild, but so I'm kind of Mahomes neutral. It would kind of put me even in the MVP markets. But man, if Josh Allen could not only win this game and put up a big stat line against a bad defense, but then next week put Burrow in his place, I think we have a new MVP favorite come week 18. So I'll be cheering hard for the Buffalo Bills offense, but if they're not going to get a pass rush, it's not going to be a masterclass win by this defense for sure.
Your over or we'll see here as soon as we finish this one, if you move on it, is becoming more.
Yeah, no, I'm moving.
You're moving on it? Okay,
well, yeah.
I'd like just to talk about the Bears quickly, line shop for you, and then decide if I'm going to join you. The Bears coming off their 4th straight loss, a tough 25-20 home setback to the Eagles. Fields 14-21 for 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And like Andy was alluding to, he ran 15 times for 95 yards and looked phenomenal. So he has exactly 1,000 yards on the season now. Wow. So he joins Mike Vick and Lamar Jackson as the only quarterbacks to rush for 1,000 or more. Pringle led receivers with 2 catches for 39 yards and a touchdown. Montgomery ran 12 times for 53 yards and a touchdown, caught 3 for 38. The offense only had 91 total yards passing because Fields was sacked 6 times for 61 yards. Is that the only angle of the total that you don't like? The freezing cold, and then the fact that they're getting nothing out of the passing game.
No, I think they'll actually have more success against the Bills. Like, this is a lesser test versus this defense. Like you said, this pass rush, this run defense is not playing all that well. This is what ultimately made doom the Bills in the playoffs. There's some really good offenses you're going to have to go up against. There's a really good offense you're going to have to go up against next week. So that's a super interesting game. But yeah, I like this Bears offense to contribute just like they did last week, and I like the Bills to really put it on them. So I think this total has gone too far. I'll be the buyback here.
Well, we'll start the buyback here with you, but on the side of things, the Bears lost a bunch of key starters to injury last week. They lose Jalen Johnson, quarterback, linebacker Jack Sanborn, Tevin Jenkins, their right guard, who was carried off in the stretcher. He's being replaced by Joe Thomas. They lost to Quinnimus St. Brown. He's in concussion protocol. N'Keal Harry missed the game with a back injury. So, I mean, these are key pieces to this squad. The Eagles put up 421 total yards and were 9 of 16 on 3rd down. Do the injuries keep you off the side and give you more confidence on the total? And I'll line shot for that.
Yeah, that's the reason. I mean, that's the reasoning I'm going to go with this too. And the Eagles could have probably scored a little more. Like somebody said in the chat, they could have just run all day. They just opted to kind of play a little differently on offense. I don't know if it was the let's get Hurts the MVP award game plan. I'm not sure if that's in their game plan, but it did feel like a bit of an odd game plan from them. It shouldn't have really. I was feeling like I'm glad I didn't bet Bears +9 because it felt like the Eagles could have just got what they wanted in that game and they didn't. So, I prefer the over much to the +9 here.
You got it over 39.5 at -110. That's the lowest we see on the board right now. That's available at Bookmaker and BetChris.
Mm-hmm.
And you are locked in, and I'm very, very interested as well. But I want to see how low will it go. All right, let's roll on.